to Chant a day. We are here today on the 29th. Oh my gosh, the month is gone. Bye bye. We are here on the 29th of May. Oh my goodness. Time is going. It's just going, going, going. It's not waiting. So we have a work to do. That means that we got to get busy. Get busy, get busy, get busy. So let's get into the psalm today. When I looked to see what the psalm was, I was pleasantly surprised because it's talking about righteous works. So the title of the psalm is Great Are the Lord's Works. So how do we define the Lord? Because some folks are calling themselves Lord and they want to be called Lord and God and, Jesus. So what I look at when we're looking at these names, what is behind it? And what's behind it is righteousness, mercy, love, kindness, compassion. I can go on and on about all these different attributes. I don't use the word peace. I use tranquility. Let's get to words that are empowering. That's what the psalm is. Every day I come on, I could do this in my own place without going live, but I decided to go live because I want to be able to return to these videos and look at them, right? Who knows? YouTube might go away one day and we might not get to have to look at them. However, in the meantime, I can. When I'm traveling, when I'm, on a road trip, I can turn on my YouTube and listen to it. And, that is the reason ultimately for doing the Chant a Psalm a day live. So it's not to get likes. It's not to get, people to like the channel, to subscribe to the channel. However, I do encourage you to subscribe because you will get updates as to when I go live. And I go live, I'm going to go live to show you all the noonie fruit and how I make the noonie oil that I'm about to patent, this noonie oil. And in that patenting that noonie oil that I make, I want you all to see what the process is, right? So subscribe so you can get to see, the channel. When we talk about peace, I don't use the word peace, I use tranquility. So when we look at, shalom or shiloh, I translate that as tranquility, happiness, love, kindness, mercy. That's what it means, right? Because peace is the degree or the diploma or the certificate you get in the cemetery. Rest in peace. So I don't want peace, I want justice, right? So let's look at the Psalm 111. It's 3 ones. 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1. And it's titled Great Are the Lord's Works. However, I translate that to be amazing, wonderful are the works of righteousness. So that is what the Lord represents, righteousness. Okay. So verse 1 starts off with giving adulation or melody, making music to what is righteousness, that is defined as the Lord. So in verse 1, it speaks of giving thanks to that righteousness with your full heart. Okay, with your full heart. And doing that in company of ones that are also righteous in the assembly. So the psalm begins with giving song, what folks call praise. I look at as, chanting, making music to that is righteousness, that is the Almighty, that's the Most High. And giving thanks to that righteousness with your full heart, not halfway stepping, but fullness stepping. And you're doing that in the company of the upright, in the gathering of folks. Okay? So, verse 2, great are the works of righteousness, studied by all who delight in the works of righteousness. So, we're always studying of ways to do good. We're always studying of ways that we can be kind and merciful to people and to ourselves, because we have to put our mask on before we can help others with theirs, right? So it's important that we look at the righteousness as being amazing. It's good to do good. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna outdo you with goodness. I wrote this story about an island where everyone tried to outkind each other. Like, I'm gonna be kind, I'm gonna bring this, they're not gonna, and they wanted to know who was doing this. So this is a story I made up, and it's about being kind, and how this island was, that's all they knew, was to be kind. And they got to the point where they tried to outkind each other. So when I'm looking at that verse 2, and being delighted in the works of righteousness, that's what I'm speaking of. The story that I made up. I'm gonna pull it up and keep on writing it, because it's an important story, as well as the many thousands of stories I have inside of me bursting to come out. I told someone I just want to go up to the hills and just be a writer, write children's, but that's all, and teach, write and teach and write. So when we look at verse 2, I love that, because it speaks of the works of righteousness being delighted by all that are doing that, right? And in verse 3 now, it goes into this full splendor and majesty is righteousness, is righteous works. So the full splendor and the majestic is defined as this righteous work. And the Most High's righteousness endures for all time to come. So that returns to what I've been talking about in terms of looking at these labels or these names and peeling it away and looking behind it. It is about righteousness. It's about love. It's about kindness. And verse 3 echoes that in terms of the full splendor and majesty is righteous work, and righteousness will endure for all time to come. So we give God, Lord, and Jesus the monopoly on righteousness, right? They are the ones that embody that. However, we were created in that same likeness and image. Therefore, we are also able and capable of being good and righteous. However, we are human. We have this humanness that, and then it's combated by the worldly influences that causes ourselves to err on the side of wrongness instead of erring on the side of kindness. So we have to stick with righteousness, doing good and finding ways that we can do that. So in verse 4 now, it looks at how greetings. It looks at, in verse 4, it looks at righteousness is causing a wondrous work to be remembered, and righteousness is gracious and merciful. And this is what the Lord is defined as, gracious and merciful. And I've echoed that numerous times on my channel. That is how God, Lord, and Jesus, Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, all of it is righteousness. That's how it's defined. And that wondrous work of righteousness is going to be remembered. That righteousness is going to cause the works of righteousness to be remembered, for righteousness is gracious and merciful. And in verse 5, what does righteousness provide? It provides food for those that fear righteous, that fair righteousness. You're afraid of righteousness in terms of, okay, look, I got to do this right. I'm afraid to do wrong. So you fear so much doing wrong in sight of the righteousness. It's like a child wanting to please their parents. They want to do what's right to please their parents, and they want to be, embraced by them in that righteousness. So they are afraid of doing wrong. Their parents may say, come on, sneak out the house and let's go out and da da da. And they're like, wait, no, I'm not doing that. And they're like, what, are you afraid? Like, yes, I have parents. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So it's in that same narrative comes up where you are provided food. Righteousness provides you food for righteous folks that fear wrongness, that fear doing the wrong thing. So, and the righteousness is remembering this agreement for all time. You've agreed to do good. Once you give yourself over to and surrender to goodness, you have made an agreement to do good. Yes, people are going to piss you off. People are going to get you upset. You're going to want to... However, you've made an agreement. So you're going to err on the side of kindness. You're going to err on the side of love and compassion and mercy for people. Because sometimes people don't know, and you have to be the example of what goodness and mercy is, because they have no clue to what that means and how it is put into action. So we look at verse 6 now, and this righteousness has shown folks the power of righteous works in giving folks an inheritance of the nations. Okay, we have war going on where one nation is like, whoa, we've been inherited this land, you can't come on, and instead of being merciful and allowing communities to, take up space, they are controlling the space and keeping certain people in and keeping certain people out. That is not merciful. That is not what righteousness is about. And we have to look behind why these things are happening. So in verse 7, it speaks of the works of righteous hands. So the works of righteous hands are faithful and just. Remember, I talked about justice. I don't want peace. I want justice, because peace is the certificate you get in the cemetery. Rest in peace. I'm alive. So why would you want to give me that? I want tranquility, harmony. I want balance and a homeostasis situation. That is what peace ultimately is. However, peace is used in a different narrative, and I don't want confusion in my word. So I use one word, one sound, one power. That is, I'm going to use a word that doesn't have a different meaning. Okay? So that's how we purify the words in the fire 7 times. We have to do that when we are translating the Psalms, so we can liberate, uplift, empower, and redeem the lost, right? The lost is already lost, and then you give them the Bible and the scripture, and they're like, oh, wait, I'm more lost than I was before I started reading, because of the pronouns. We take the pronouns out. Why are you limiting yourself to a pronoun and identifying yourself as a pronoun? I identify myself as beautiful. Don't call me a pronoun. Call me beautiful. Call me by my name. I am not a she, a her, a shem, a him, a him, a his, or her, they, and them. I'm not. I am a name that my grandmother actually gave me. So call me by that name. Don't refer to me as she said that or she said this. Use the name instead of the pronoun. So we look at how there is that inheritance that we have, right? And the works in verse 7, the works of, we talked about, I just mentioned, the works of righteousness are faithful and justice. Just. I just mentioned that and I went into, I don't want peace, I want justice. So just. And all the precepts of righteousness are trustworthy. You can trust a righteous person. You can trust somebody who's good and kind and merciful, right? Yes, of course, because that's what they're going to give you, because that is what their precepts are. Righteousness, mercy, love, compassion, right? These attributes are established for all time to come. They're established. People can go astray from doing good, go astray from being merciful. They can go astray from doing that, but that doesn't stop it from happening. Mercy and truth and righteousness and love and kindness is going to cover the earth as the water cover the seas. It's going to happen. So I would rather get on that train, that righteous train, than get on a train where everybody is on and they're not being merciful to who is outside the train. You know? So it's like crabs in a bucket, and it's like this idea of everyone is for themselves, right? It's selfish. And that is not what is trustworthy. When a person is selfish, they cannot be trusted because they're not going to look out for you. They're looking out for themselves, for the number one, the A1 person, themselves. So these attributes in verse 7 are trustworthy. And verse 8, that these attributes are established for all time to come. And these attributes are to be performed with faithfulness and uprightness. So you're not being kind and being, oh, I gotta be kind, and you're just, ugh. No, you're happy to be kind. You're performing kindness with a faithfulness and with a righteousness, an uprightness. So in verse 9, and we have two more verses in this Psalm 111. In verse 9, it talks about righteousness sent redemption to folks. Okay? You can be redeemed through righteousness, love, mercy, kindness, compassion. That's why we call that one the Redeemer, the Liberator, the one who gives all of the breath of life we have today to talk, to speak, to listen to this live, to have the ability to work and pay for internet so you can have a live. So you have to look at the bigger picture, because the Redeemer has come. People are waiting for Jesus. Like, we're waiting for Jesus to, but how can you wait for Jesus to come when Jesus rose and lives? But we're so focused on the crucifixion that we forget that one has risen. Righteousness has risen. That means that we have to do good. So what, you're going to do bad until Jesus comes? You're going to sin until Jesus comes? Wait a minute. Because Jesus lives, why are we talking about waiting for him to come? And then why are we talking about having to leave our bodies to see that one, when we can look at righteousness around us, and that is living? That's a acknowledgement that righteousness lives. You can say he lives, she lives. I don't use pronouns, so I don't refer to God as a he or a she. Okay, I refer to that one Almighty as righteousness, mercy, and love and kindness. We attribute humanity to the Creator because we were created in the Creator's image. So the Creator must have human qualities. As we looked at ones that came through the scriptures with human qualities. However, they were divine, right? Look at Moses and the burning bush. That's a divine encounter. So when we look at verse 9, there is a commanded agreement that the commander, we can call them Almighty Commander, has commanded a agreement for all time to come. So happy and awesome is the name of righteousness, mercy, love, and kindness. Okay, we get caught up into labels. That's why we have religiosity being so divided. This one is a Catholic, that one is and the twain do not meet. It's like, what? Wait a minute, we're all supposed to be in this together. Why are we divisive? So the Chant a Psalm a day liberation liberates this ideology of divisive, and it's a coming together as a oneness of righteous love, kindness, and mercy. That's the full foundation. So as we end the psalm today, the fear of the Most High is the beginning of a wise mind. So let's translate that. The fear of righteousness is the beginning of wise mind. Right? We spoke about this in the beginning of the psalm. You're so afraid to do wrong that righteousness is right there. You're like, oh, I can't go this wrong way because righteousness is watching. I can't do this because righteousness is, I don't want to displease righteousness by doing wrongness, right? So the fear of that righteousness is the beginning of having a wise mind. Okay, I was in a Zoom yesterday, first night. I don't use last night, I use first night. First night, I was in a fellowship meeting with other Black women PhD scholars. And the focus of this fellowship group is to look at young children. It's a child development from the perspective of the Black experience and supporting Black children's growth by empowering their white teachers to have a cultural, competent teaching pedagogy, right? So at the end of the fellowship, the question was, what is one word to take away from tonight's fellowship? My word was wise mind. Wise minds, not wisdom. You can't be wise and dumb at the same time. But that's the confusion of the language. Wise mind is what I use instead of wisdom. Because I'm not going to be wise and dumb at the same time. I'm not going to be in a confusion with the words being shifted into these kinds of down, dumb, low energy words. We're going to uplift the words by calling wise mind, not wisdom. So that is the fear of righteousness, is the beginning of having a wise mind. Knowing how to discern folks, knowing how to discern situations, knowing how to move in life, and knowing how to practice goodness. So in the end of this psalm, verse 10 looks at all people that practice righteousness, wise mind, have a good, firm standing. They can stand firm. And I don't like the word understanding. We're not under a stand. We are upright. Because remember, in the first verse, it talks about in the company of the upright. So we're not under anything. We're up. We're righteous. We're upright. So understand, I don't use. I'm going to stand firm in my righteousness, in my uprightness. Someone told me the other day, they're like, your back is so strong and straight. You sit up. So I said, because I'm upright. I got to be upright. We're not crawling on the ground, crawling on the ceiling. We stand upright. So the end of this psalm, verse 10, punches with chanting songs will endure for all time to come, exclamation mark. It speaks his praises, his praise endures forever. However, remember I take out the pronouns. So it's not a his, a her. It's not defined gender-wise or race-wise. Those are constructs, and a con is a lie. So we've been lied to. We've been lied to demographically that we are separate and divided. We're separate but equal. Like, okay. When we look at the end of the psalm, verse 10, that one that is righteousness has songs of music making that will endure for all time to come, exclamation mark. That's how I translate that ending verse. Okay? So that we liberate the words, we liberate and we emancipate and free the chains that have been tied in the Bible. They put chains on there and they're just chaining this Bible up to the point they might get rid of it and ban it. So we have to be prepared, like, to translate these words into liberation. So Selah and Selah again. Here ends the psalm for today. I wanted to actually look at what the word is today, and it's protection. The word is protection. In righteousness' protecting presence, I fill I mind with positive thoughts. Drop the mic on that one. Yesterday, if you look at yesterday's chant a psalm, you'll see positive thoughts in the word from yesterday. So it reads, my imagination is powerful. However, sometimes I misuse I imagination by picturing what may go wrong and imagining outcomes I do not want. When I feel worried or fearful, I can imagine the protecting presence of righteousness surrounding I. When I commune with righteousness, I picture a worldly worry resolving in tranquility. As I do, I feel calm and safe, freed from any chains feeling or of enslaved feelings. I am newly empowered and assured as I fearful thoughts begin to fade. Okay? In instances when I might have felt timid or afraid, I am now bold and brave, carrying the presence of righteousness with I always. I use I imagination wisely. And that's what the psalm talked about, wise mind. I expect the best, trusting I cannot be outside righteousness's protecting presence. And merciful's protecting presence, compassion's protecting presence. All of these attributes we need to uplift and keep talking about, keep chanting these. So the word today, protection, is supported with Psalm 121, verse 5 to 6, that speaks, the Lord is your keeper. And who is the Lord? Righteousness, mercy, love, and kindness. We're not going to get caught up into these names. That's your personal business. You want to call Lord, you want to say Papa Boje, you want to say Papa, you want to say Mama and Papa, you want to call this one omnipotent one that is righteousness and mercy, you want to call that whatever. You call that what you want. That is your personal business. However, we know that that means righteousness. So I translate the Lord as being righteousness, mercy, compassion, love. That is your keeper. That's who's keeping you. Goodness and mercy wakes you up in the rise, right? Goodness and mercy is your shade at your righteousness. It says right hand. And because it says right hand, a lot of children who are left-handed got beat because they weren't using their right hand, because the right hand was looked at as the right hand of God, and that's more blessed than the left, which is not so, right? It's not about that. It's about righteousness. That the righteousness is your shade. That's your shade. And the sun shall not strike you during the day, nor the moon during the night, because righteousness is your keeper. I love Psalm 121. I would recommend that Psalm. Look at my channel because I did translate that Psalm 121. It's a powerful Psalm. I had a friend who was going through some trials at work. She typed that Psalm, put it at her desk, and had that disappear. All the negativity disappeared. So the words are powerful. Remember, there's power in the tongue. There's power in words. That's why they call it a spelling test, because words have spells. They put spells on folks. Okay? So, Selah and Selah again as we end the word of the day. I wanted to now share the verse of the day. Let's see. And the verse of the day, comes from Psalm again, Psalm 103, 17 to 18. So we're really chanting the Psalm today. Psalm 111, and then Psalm 121 with the word today, protection, and then Psalm 103, verse 17 to 13, Psalm 103, 17 to 13, 17 to 18 rather. And it talks about from such time ago to such time ago, righteousness is with those that fear righteousness, and righteousness with one's children's children, with ones who keep a agreement and remember to obey the righteous precepts. And we talked about the precepts in Psalm 111, that these precepts, where is it? That the righteous precepts, right? Psalm 111 verse 7. The works of righteous hands are faithful and justice, right? And all righteous precepts are trustworthy. And this Psalm 103 talks about remembering to obey these precepts. Because in Psalm 111 verse 7, it talks about the precepts being trustworthy. That's why you're obeying them, because they're trustworthy, right? So you're going to, from such time, it speaks of everlasting to everlasting. And I don't use the word last, I use first, because the Most High righteousness is first. Selassie, the first. The Trinity is first. All three in one is first. Selassie is an Amharic word. It means Trinity. So I use Amharic words because that's the most ancient language. You know, Arabic, Amharic, all of those are ancient languages that were used to commune with the Most High. So we look at the word today, the verse today, talking about from ever first to ever first. Righteousness is love, is with ones that fear the righteousness is love, right? You don't want to cross that love. You don't want to disappoint that love. So, and that same righteousness is going to be with these ones' children's children. So it's going to be for generations and generations. And those that keep this agreement to Surah Dokhna, to do good and to remember to obey the precepts of righteousness, mercy, love, because they are trustworthy. All the precepts of the Most High are trustworthy. This is verse 7. Psalm 111, verse 7, echoes Psalm 103, verse 17 to 18. Selah and Selah again. Oh my goodness. I give thanks for the words today, for the psalm today, for the word of the day, and for the verse of the day. Have a beautiful, blessed day, everyone, as we outro with Steel Pulse. Chant a psalm a day. Have a blessed day, everyone. Have a blessed day.